What's up guys, I'm Sean. It's time to overhaul the suspension on my F82 M4. The last time I was at the track with the stock EDC suspension, the suspension felt a little bit floaty. So now it's time for a major upgrade since I'm going to be tracking this car more often. I bought a bunch of parts from Bimmerworld and I'm still waiting on a few more. So far I received the SPL rear toe arms. So extra toe is going to give me more camber as well. And it's going to be less toe deflection when you're on the track. And I bought the rear camber arm inner bearing. So it's a monoball bearing. And it's going to be a coilover setup. So rear is a 1,000-pound spring. And the ground control spring mount. Front springs are 700 pounds with the helper spring. I'm still waiting for my MCS dampers. Front sway bar end links with the front sway bar bushing, and then front lower control arm monoball bearing. So I'm going to start piecing it all together and start installing what I received so far. I'm going to start with the front lower control arm bearing installation. So this bearing is supposed to minimize the steering wheel shimmy when you're under hard braking. And I recall when I was at the track at Laguna Seca Raceway, under hard braking, my steering wheel did shake a little bit because the stock bushing is a little bit soft. So this monoball bearing is supposed to help minimize that, and it's supposed to help with steering feel. Looking at the front passenger side, following this arm, you can see where the stock bushing is. So now we just have to remove all the under trays so we can get to that bolt. It's hard to get to this bolt with this hose in the way, so I'm going to try to remove this heat exchanger. Torx T27. Remove this panel. Just move the cooler slightly out of the way. Now we can get to this 18mm bolt right here. Alright, that bolt is really tight, so I turn the brake disc to the right, give more room, and I have a little cheater pipe to extend it. There it is. Now I should be able to get it with my ratchet. Alright, it's a 21mm nut down here. Now I can get to this bushing. Both front control arms have been removed. It's really difficult to push out the front bushing. So I'm going to go to my brother-in-law's house and he has a press. There it is! Pressing in the new Bimmerworld bushing. I have to press in the bushing. It's not a slip fit. So now I just have to install the cap and put on the Allen screws. Back at home, the bearing has been installed. Now I just have to reinstall it back into the car. Bearing sits nice and flush. And the Bimmerworld kit came with some new bolts. The right arm for the right side. Make sure these spacers are in here. Bolts all lined up. Run it down with 18. Reinstall the knuckle portion. Yeah. With the suspension under load, I'm going to torque that new bolt to 50 foot-pounds and then do a 90-degree turn. And the bolt that goes to the knuckle, I'm going to torque to 129 foot-pounds. Alright, this side's done. Just have to do the same for the other side. Driver's side has been installed. It's done. Now it's time for the next mod. I'm going to be doing the sway bar bushings in the front. You remove the main skid plate and then you can get to the sway bar bushing. It's a 13mm. I just removed the entire front sway bar just to make it easier. And I removed the factory OEM bushing and just installed the Powerflex bushing using their grease. And has a little tab that snaps in, which is smaller. So this side's ready to go. I just have to do this side. I found the easiest solution to remove the bushing is to install a little pry screwdriver here. That's where the tab is. Just kind of tap it down. Use a punch. Stick it in there and just kind of try to pry the bushing out. There it is. Some lube on the bar. Let's reinstall the sway bar. Run these down. Torque these 13mm bolts to 21 foot-pounds. Powerflex front sway bar bushings are installed. Now I just have to reinstall the panel and then do the sway bar end links. I'm gonna start working on this, the rear camber arm bearing, and it goes there, right there. I rented this ball joint press set. The part number is 57023. I already made some progress. I moved the inner bolt right there and the bolt holding the lower shock. I didn't touch the camber arm bolt, and I used my bushing bearing tool that I borrowed from AutoZone, and the bushing's already halfway out, so I just have to do a little bit more. Finally got it out using a hammer and a chisel to knock out the remaining part. Alright, following the instructions from Bimmerworld, the sleeve with the internal shoulder, see right here, presses in from the rear towards the front of the car. The sleeve has been pressed in. There's a little lip right here. But on this side, it already comes out a little bit, so I don't think I need to go any further. Now I just have to install the monoball bearing, and I can press this into the sleeve with a socket that touches the metal part, not this part. And I found the perfect socket. It's a 36mm socket, and it goes over the rubber, and it goes directly onto the metal bearing. I'll just tap it in a little bit. The 36mm socket is a good starting point to get the bearing going, but what happens is that now this thing is too big for the sleeve. So I'm going to go with a 32mm, so that way it can still slide in here, but it can still push the bearing. The kit also comes with these spacers to fill the gap. The rear camber arm bearing is in. Depending on how far you push in the sleeve, my sleeve protruded a couple millimeters, so I grinded it down. It's probably an optional step, but I grinded it down flush with the factory subframe, just so there will be no clearance issues when I install the lower control arm. The suspension has been put back together for now. I'm still waiting for my MCS dampers. And meanwhile, here's how the rear camber arm bearing looks like. It's a monoball sealed bearing, just like factory one right here.